There is a fifth dimension, beyond that which is known to man. A dimension of sound.
For the 158th time, you are not getting out of here. Please let me finish the Count of Monte Cristo.
A dimension of sight.
No change at all.
What? I think I look fine.
A dimension of mind. Next stop, the Twilight Zone.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the fifth dimension of Twilight Zone podcast. I am, as always, your host, Nick, and today we're talking about a brand new Twilight Zone episode, one that was not as new now, but was new in December 11th, 1959. But as you can see, my host that is usually here with me is here today, Triv from Trivial Theater. Triv, how you doing? How's the corn hub / drink cup thing you have right next to you?
I'm not 100% sure how to reply to that, but yeah, generally I can't complain about what's in my cup because I still don't know. But we have someone else that is new and he is cool and with us going forward. And yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, yeah. So I was gonna say we have our very own Rocky, because this is a Rocky Horror Picture Show type podcast that turned into a Twilight Zone podcast. But we definitely have someone new. Yeah. We definitely have a returning guest. We definitely have a returning guest, which is Jacob Anders Review. And we've decided to keep him on as a permanent guest because I feel like he brings stuff to the table, whether good or bad or sexy or not. We'll figure that out as we move along. But, you know, after the last episode that he was on, I felt, you know what? Triv is just not doing it for me. So
I feel so honored. Maybe I should just leave now. I mean, I can let you guys get it on.
Well, I mean, there is a door, but there is a door behind Jacob there. So I mean,
yeah, get the fuck out.
There's a limit.
Hey, you know what? I know. As an avatar, I've faced discrimination in the past, and y'all can fuck off.
Hey, you picked me, the biggest corn ear out of Corn Hub. So keep talking crazy. You're the one who picked me.
Jake, I love you dearly, but Nick's being an ass, so I can tell when I'm not wanted. I can see avatar abuse when it's not there, just because I can't move my arms,
Avatar abuse?
Yes. Okay. Fuck you, Nick.
I try. No, the reason I brought Jacob on, because this is an episode about 3 people, and one of them has to disappear, I think. So
I'm the one that gets designated to disappear first? Wow.
No, we love you, Triv. Don't leave us.
Avatar and a woman.
Yeah.
And against whatever is in my mystery cup.
I feel like we're going to get canceled after this episode.
Damn right, Yar.
The first episode Jacob gets on, we get banned for life, from Zoom and all that shit. No, Triv, we need you. Don't leave. Don't leave.
Yeah, because I bring so much to the fold on that.
You bring extra set of headphones
farts,
and glass.
That's right.
So exactly.
You brought Corn Hub.
I know. The best of the field.
Best ears around.
Yeah, best ears around. You're getting a little corny on me here, man. Jesus.
But so anyways, before that crazy introduction, we are a Twilight Zone podcast that does talk about Twilight Zone from the early stages to the eventual conclusion in I think 1963 or whatever. If you want to, check us out on audio form as well as video form, we're up on YouTube on my page for right now. Audio form, we have Apple Podcasts, we have Google Play, Stitcher, whatever the hell. Anchor allows me to put on.
I don't think there's a whatever the hell option, honestly, though I could be wrong.
It's on Google.
You never know. Yeah. Google's like, whatever the hell. We'll eventually cancel it anyways. So, anyways.
You're really caught up on canceling tonight. My God, why are you talking that way? This is Jake's first professional gig with us.
Yeah.
Way to drive him away.
I'm professional. You guys thought of professionalism and you said that guy right there.
Exactly.
Dude, I was the one talking about things we can't talk about because I don't want to get, Nick demonetized.
Oh, that's the goal. I thought that was what we talked about in the DMs.
Eventually, but you got to lull him into a false sense of security.
Eliminate the competition.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, first we got Geeks and Gamers, now we got Movie Emporium. I mean, it goes in a
Jesus.
circle.
Go.
Dude, if that's the circle that we're running in, I will let myself out the back. You don't have to tell me to go. I'm out, yo.
Circle. It's the circle jerk we're in.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Oh, Jake, you're just so awesome. Nick, you can go to hell, but that's okay.
Oh man, I've already put myself in the doghouse, and Jacob's been on for like 10 minutes. So
That's right.
it might be the Jacob and Triv show here in a second.
I didn't even do anything.
You're my replacement because I've gone over my limit of harassing Triv. So
Oh, fuck off. Just go. Why don't you just go watch the 16 millimeter Shrine?
I probably should.
Yes, you should.
So, anyways,
You
we're
guys
going
talk
to be
about
talking
that one
about.
a lot.
Yes, we do.
I know.
It's a very divisive episode. I gather.
It is for the two of us, apparently. I'm sure someone out there is like, I fucking love that episode. What the hell is wrong with you people? And that's why we brought on Jacob, because he loves that episode so much. So
Maybe I don't. Yeah, I do.
It's been a while.
I love that episode. It's my favorite episode. The pinnacle of the Twilight Zone. How dare you speak that way of it?
Yeah, see, there you go, Jake. There you go, Nick. You're being called out early on.
I know. So today we're actually talking about a really probably good episode, I would consider. I'm sure all three of us agree with that. At least I think we all agree, but we're talking about what's that?
Do we?
I don't know. Do we?
No
Anyways,
idea.
we're talking about season 1, episode 11, which is called "And When the Sky Was Open," which is a weird title to name an episode of a TV series, but directed by Douglas Hayes, written by Rod Serling, based off a script or a short story by Richard Matheson called "Disappearing Act." Its production code 173-3611 and premiered on December 11th, 1959. Stars Rod Taylor, Charles Aiman, Jim Hutton, and Maxine Cooper. And so, before we begin and go off the rails, as I'm sure we'll do in many episodes from the future as well, Jacob, since you are joining our podcast, how long has it been since you've seen this episode? Do you remember anything about it before watching it?
It's been about 20 minutes since I've seen this episode.
I mean, before you watched it.
Prior to that, probably 20 years since I've seen this episode.
20 years.
When I started watching it, I was like, I vaguely remember this hospital setting. That was about it. But yeah, I thought this was a pretty good episode. I mean, I'm not going to jump too far ahead of myself like I did last time, but it wasn't like, oh, this is Twilight Zone, top tier, but it definitely wasn't the bottom. I thought it was a entertaining, neat little episode. It didn't have quite as much like subtext as some Twilight episodes do that I picked up on, at least. But I thought it was just a neat little 25-minute episode.
What about you, Chirf? Do you remember this episode at all?
And looking back on it, I'm not the biggest fan of like space-based ones because I kind of feel like they tell the same story over and over. Or that's where I left it at last week when we talked about this. But having watched it, like I was really intrigued. This is a really good episode. I think I saw it probably last about 5 years ago, like on some, sci-fi zone or sci-fi marathon. But yeah, it's a solid episode. They play the actors are incredibly good at being distressed and playing it well. And yeah, I think this is a solid like classic episode of if you wanted to introduce someone to the Twilight Zone, this is not the worst episode to get introduced them on.
Yeah, there's much worse episodes. Worse episodes out there. I mean, I'm being serious. We joke about the 16 millimeter Shrine, but there are way worse episodes in this series than that episode. We'll get to them later. Yeah, the episode I remember, like the actual kind of conceit of it, I don't remember very well, but I remember the conclusion because of how unique it is for Twilight Zone in its nature. But it's gonna be interesting. This is actually one of the cool reasons I brought Jacob on board to do the podcast as well. Is I think you'll bring some really interesting combos to the table that will be maybe different than what we in Triv see. But I don't know. It's a really fascinating episode to get into because like you said, Jacob, it doesn't have the most amount of context. So we start out in this episode, we have the X-20, which ironically, I think there's a ride at Epcot called Mission Space, which I think involves the X-20 aircraft, which I think is a homage to this aircraft in this movie or this episode. But Jacob, the other reason I brought you on because you do such great narrations of Rod Serling, so I figured we'd have you from now on do the narrations until you give up and say screw this and leave our podcast forever. But well, if you want, I'll let you go ahead and start with the opening narration.
Sure, I can do that.
Have you been practicing your Serling voice?
I haven't, but let me see if I can conjure it up here. It's been a minute. Her name, X-20. Her type, an experimental interceptor. Recent history, a crash landing in the Mojave Desert after a 31-hour flight 900 miles into space. Incidental data. The ship, with the men who flew her, disappeared from the radar screen for 24 hours. But the shrouds that cover the mysteries are not always made of tarpaulin, as this man will soon find out on the other side of the hospital door.
Dum, dum, dum.
So,
real quick fun fact about this was Rod Serling had wanted to show a rocket crashing or a plane crashing, but it was too expensive, so they just popped it into the narration.
They should have just gone to the French or gone to the French and called this La Trois Fantômes or whatever it was called. They probably would have gotten more money.
The Three Phantoms, yeah.
I just heard twats. That's, I mean,
La Twats.
That's us, right? La Twats.
I'm sold.
Change the podcast name to the La Twats.
Oh my god!
So British
okay,
La Twats.
So with this opening, with this narration that Jacob finally read, which was nice. What do you guys get out of this opening narration? Does it give you enough to go off of to give you the gist of what this episode is going to be about, or do you feel that it's like the last episode of Judgment Night when they talk about the boat in the opening narration and they kind of give you tonnage and stuff like that? I mean, what do you guys feel about that opening narration? Do you think it works? Do you think it makes sense? Are you confused after watching it or hearing about it? What do you guys think?
It honestly made me think it was going to be about alien abduction. Like they were kind of like the aliens are going to come abduct them or something like that. I mean, I guess I got enough information from it. I didn't think, I mean, once we got about halfway through the episode, I was like, okay, I see what's going on here. But I didn't think it was going to go the direction that it did. And like I said, it's been a long time since I've seen these episodes. So yeah, I mean, I was happy with it. It didn't give away too much. It made me a little intrigued as to, okay, where were they for 24 hours? What happened? I guess you still are after the episode too, but yeah, I thought it was enough.
I got Langolier vibes, honestly, just like that idea that, you know, something obviously went wrong. They flew into something. I mean, and there are Twilight Zone episodes that kind of follow that, but with this, that kind of gave me that. That or they were just listing off specs for the plane because one of the guys would fall in love with it.
Yeah, because it is a real plane.
The X-20?
Yeah. The Boeing, I think.
Boeing X-20. It makes sense of it.
Yeah, the Boeing.
It's the Interceptor. So with that said, the episode ends up with Colonel Forbes, who's played by Rod Taylor, going to room 15. And this is where we meet Colonel or was it Colonel or Major? Major.
The kid in the bed was a major. The other two were colonels.
Yeah. Jim Hutton, who plays Major William Garth. I kept thinking his name was Garth throughout the entire episode.
Timothy Hutton's dad, by the way.
Is it really?
Oh,
Yeah.
Cool.
That makes sense. It actually looks like him. So before this episode started going out of sync for me and Triv as we were watching it, basically we have Forbes going in there. He's freaking out because his best friend, Ed Harrington, has disappeared and Gart has no idea who he is, never heard of this guy. And he's like, no, we were in space together, blah, 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 blah. And he pulls out the newspaper and it's just Forbes and Gart. And you're like, the hell's going on? Is this guy losing his mind? So we're at this entire segment where Rod Taylor's character is just kind of losing it. Were you guys starting to get an inkling that there was something more sci-fi in nature about what was going on? What was your overall opinion of just this whole segment where Forbes is just freaking out on Gart, and Gart's probably like, why is this guy not in a padded room somewhere? I mean, what do you guys think about that overall arching segment, I guess you could say?
I really thought, like I said earlier, I really thought it was going to be, they went to either some dimension or wherever Jodie Foster went in contact or something like that. And like aliens took one of them and left and then erased everybody's memories or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah,
the erasing memory thing, we'll get to in a little bit. I have one issue with that, but we'll get to that. That's later in the show. But I thought it was aliens. But then, of course, we find out it's Final Destination.
Exactly. It did have it.
Oh no! I was gonna say every time I thought about when you said aliens, I was thinking of that interview in Independence Day where the guy goes, "They abused us, or they abused him sexually." Every time I think about aliens, it's just the funniest thing. I don't know why, but I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
with that
it's all right. It's all right.
So.
I mean, you could go Event Horizon too, where it's just like massive amounts of death and destruction.
Rip your eyes out.
Yeah,
basically Hellraiser or something like that. I think you definitely get the sense that something isn't right. The way he freaks out, the reaction he has, whatever he's going through, it's visceral enough where it's affecting him on more than just a psychological level. It's become physical because he's sweating and he's in distress in multiple ways. So all right, we're getting a serenade by Nick. All right.
No, I had to bring up my nose because it was behind the Wikipedia page that I have up there. I mean,
behind the porn page he's got there.
Yes, the
corn
page. Exactly. But he says they left it through 9:30 a.m. and they were gone they don't remember anything for 4 hours, and 24 hours later they landed in the desert, which leads into my theory of what's going on. But I think what's interesting is just how insane Forbes sounds. I mean, it's like walking into a room going, "I am Jesus" or something like that, and then being pulled away and taken away, and he's so convinced that this guy is alive and was a real person, and nobody believes him. That's like when I don't know if you guys remember as kids, but you watch a movie. They did a lot of Goosebumps books did this, where the kid will go to the parents talking about some incident. We'll say there's a ghost or vampire or something like that, and the parent just shrugs him off. And it's like that type of thing where Harrington or Garth's kind of shrugging him off and stuff like that. And I thought that was interesting. It's an interesting way to start a story, and it's very Richard Matheson in his portrayal of how he writes and his kind of sci-fi work and stuff like that. He's known for doing a lot of sci-fi horror stuff. So
there's a Star Trek episode like that too, wasn't there?
Yeah, actually, there's a Star Trek episode. There's a Stargate SG-1 episode, and then there's a Eureka episode that follow the same basic premise.
Eureka, interesting.
Eureka.
I never saw Eureka, but I remember I think it was Next Generation.
Yeah, Beverly Crusher undergoes a comparable experience. So
yeah,
but this leads to in essence a flashback of the whole incident of leading up to Harrington's disappearance. Basically, me and Trev joked, and you probably noticed this as well, Jacob, but they leave the hospital, they go into a bar, basically, and they buy a 30-cent beer, which, I wish I could 30-cent beer, but the first thing out of Trev's mouth was, that is some shitty-ass beer. Because
the amount of foam, it's like the dude didn't know how to pour a damn beer. It's like 90% foam, and eventually some of it comes back. But clearly they had to have stunt beer because you get to the next shot and there's only there's a proper head on it, but there's no more than there should be. So damn, what
on that beer,
right? Why did the bartender go away and leave poor Harrington behind?
That's why he disappeared. He left because that terrible fucking beer.
Yeah.
He said, I get back from fucking space and you give me this. I'm out, dude. I'm out. Screw this. I'm going back to the contact aliens.
Yeah, he's he calls on the phone to his aliens. It's actually not the parents, but he's calling the aliens. He's like, they served me some crappy beer. I need you to erase this from my memory and their memory. I just need you to make me disappear and maybe, find me a space alien woman or something like that with better beer and
3 boobs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay,
man.
cool. I can see where Jake's head is
there. But this whole segment is they meet a woman, which I think is the Amy character, the Maxine Cooper character, I think, or
she was the only woman
Gloria
in
Pall.
there. Oh no, I was going to say one of them's a nurse too. So
Amy's the wife. I keep forgetting, but anyways, they meet this woman and they're give that crappy beer, and all of a sudden Harrington looks in the mirror, and it's not really clear, but you kind of get the gist of what's going on. He can't see himself in the mirror, so he's like, I don't know, Patrick Swayze in Ghost or something like that, where he just can't see himself, or Bill Cosby in Ghost Dad before Bill Cosby did his thing.
Never reference that movie.
Do not trust the pudding pops.
Can only step on the carpet. About that scene right there, by the way, the pudding pops, but the mirror scene. That kind of threw me. I didn't get that at first. I was like, what is he freaking out about? I thought he just had like a feeling, like he was like, oh, I feel like something's wrong, like the other guy did earlier. But apparently, because I looked it up and I was like, he was freaking out. And I saw that, and you guys probably heard or read this somewhere, but apparently he was not supposed to be seen. His image in the mirror was supposed to disappear. That's what made him freak out, is he noticed I have no reflection. But when they were filming it, I guess they accidentally did film part of him.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I saw that while watching it. I was like, that's why it didn't click with me, because I saw like his arm and his hand and all that in there. So I was like, man, why is this guy really freaking out? And he wasn't supposed to see himself. That's why I was freaking out.
Yeah, that happens actually during the Forbes scene, but it's the same thing. It's like, but I can't remember what movie I was talking about. What movie was I talking about? But the idea of mirrors in Twilight Zone is like very important, because it's able to not only film two characters at one time, but there's a meaning behind it, like be able to see our true selves in the mirror and stuff like that.
Last Night in Soho did that a lot too.
Yes, thank you. That's the movie. I there was a scene with the mirrors, with all the mirrors and stuff like that. The funny thing about the segment is he freaks out and he runs over to the phone booth. Triv was funny. I made a joke because Triv pointed out the whole phone book being like the size of a Bible and stuff like that.
Back in the day, though, they were.
All I can think of was Back to the Future with a. Can you tell me where Riverside Drive is? All that stuff. So, but he calls the parents and he freaks out because the parents have no idea who he is and never seen him before, and he's like sweating, like he just has like the shakes from drinking that beer. And
I would too.
Yeah.
Drinking,
but he
tastes like piss.
But it's also funny because but it's also funny because the newspaper has 3 people on it. But when he goes back, Forbes goes back to the bartender and whatever. Then he comes back. Harrington's disappeared, and he's asking the bartender, and the bartender's like, "I have no idea what you're talking about. You're insane. Get out of my bar." And he's like, "I'm gonna get out of your bar because you have shitty beer." And he runs back to Gart where he explains all the information. I think that was the end of the act, if I remember right.
No,
in the beer's defense, the beer may have been okay. It was the bartender just did not know how to pour that shit. Just one point.
For all we know is Stella or something like that,
Yeah. No, it was Busch Light. Let's call it what it is.
Busch Light.
Pabst Blue Ribbon,
motherfucker. It was Schlitz back in the day.
Yeah. Oh God.
This is the 50s. It was just beer.
Yeah, exactly. It was actually Hams. Those are, if you ever want to look up some fun things, look up the old Ham advertising animations. They are funny as hell.
I've got it's not here. It's in storage with all my stuff. In my old set, I had a Stro Light, I think is what it's called, beer, and it had like the peel off
tab
and all that.
Yeah.
I found it in a wall at a hotel when they were renovating it.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Shit's from like 1962 or something like that.
That's amazing.
If I open it, it's probably straight up yeast.
Yeah, more than likely. That will straight up kill your ass. Although it might be a universal cure for like everything because it's had time to ferment.
Yeah. Oh, it's done something. I'm surprised there's something in there. You can shake it. I don't want to shake it too much, but yeah, it's always in the background somewhere in my set. But yeah, it's
nice.
That is a legit that's like 60 years old now.
Yeah, that it is.
That's some good beer. I guess. I don't know.
Was it the point where we flash back when it goes to end credit? Is it? I'm trying to remember when the actual episodes went out of sync on the sound. We were watching a Japanese version of the Twilight Zone episode, but
really,
basically,
no, it was that far off. Like for some reason, the lag on the audio was probably like 10 seconds.
Yeah, it was bad.
I'm just looking here. The midpoint was when he storms out of the bar, so I'm guessing after he confronts the bartender about Harrington being gone, then that's when it drops to black. But one funny thing that got me, he keeps repeating Ed Harrington's name so much, either Ed or Harrington or Ed Harrington. If you did a shot every time you heard the name Ed or Harrington, he'd be dead like 5 minutes into this episode.
It's like the Ed Harrington drinking game.
Yeah, exactly. It could be the next great thing.
With that being the end of the episode or end of the first act, because there's only 2 acts in pretty much every Twilight Zone episode. Triv, I'm going to start with you. What did you think of the overall arching narrative that was going on? Did you find it interesting or engaging? Did you still not kind of understand what was going on, or did you kind of know? What was your overall take on the first half of the episode?
I mean, we found out that Ed Harrington was a klutz that because he spilled his beer and we really weren't out anything by him leaving. I was also wondering if the phone booth was partially TARDIS. Yeah, it's well that, and he disappeared, so I just assumed he went further into the guts of the TARDIS. So
he went to the bathroom.
Yeah, basically. No, I think it was, you get a pretty decent idea about what's coming. You find out that he's not 100% crazy. There is something more going on, whichever way you want to state it. That or people had a massive ass grudge against the poor guy.
No, which one? Oh, the guy who disappeared.
Oh, was it Forbes? The guy that was left?
Oh yeah, everybody's just being a dick to him.
Yeah, it's like the worst practical joke ever.
Like moments ago, they were all like, I mean, even if they did think he was nuts, I mean, just a few minutes ago, they were like, "Oh, your money's no good here. We're gonna pay for your beer, buddy," and all
30
this.
cents, man.
You're 30 whole cents, and you're a hero. You went to space. A few minutes later, he's like showing some PTSD or something. They're like, "Get that fucking nut out of here."
That was kind of the 50s, though. I mean, damn.
It's hardcore, just like the last episode I was on, the chocolate milk thing. Jimmy fell. Just walk it off, Jimmy. Have a smoke break.
Oh man, what about you, Jacob? Did you how did you feel about the first half of the episode? Like overall, what was your kind of?
I liked it. I mean, I liked this whole episode, but I did the first half. I liked how it went about explaining the situation because I didn't know exactly what was going on, or like I said, I thought it was aliens. That's my go-to, but when that actually did start to happen, when it happened, I thought, by the way, he dropped the beer because he was disappearing like Marty McFly style. By the way, it like fell through his hand, but
that would have been cool.
They probably didn't have the tech for that then, but I was like, okay, that first or second half, rather, this part of it did kind of like tell me, okay, this is what's going on, and I pretty much knew what was going to happen from there. I was like, okay, either they're, because he's freaking out. I bet he at least is going to disappear, and the third guy might as well. I don't know, but I kind of figured it out by that point. The aha moment was at the end of this segment of the.
Well, the third guy is still in the hospital. It'd be a way for him to not have to pay his medical bills, which I know he's in the in the service, so he probably wouldn't have to pay. But on the off chance he would, he's like, you know what? I'm just going to disappear and claim this because, hey, why not?
I mean, that medical bill would probably be like, $20 or something. It'd be a lot.
Yeah. He saw a cute nurse, he flirted, and like he started doing some not so great stuff. So then he like disappeared, and he's like, I'm not here, clearly.
Oh my God. Okay. I said there was no subtext to this whole episode. I'm wrong. It's about abandonment. Beer. It's about abandonment and deadbeat dads. Hear me out. Like that dude, he was like hooking up with that nurse in the bed while they're at the place and all that. He realized, didn't have protection, just blew it all in there, and like he's like, oh shit, I'm not ready to be a dad. So he just staged this whole thing to disappear, and now she's pregnant. So it's about the extent that men will go to get away from being a father and being deadbeat dads or something like that. I don't know. We're going that route. I found the subtext.
It makes as much sense as anything else that happens in a Twilight Zone show.
I mean, that's possible. I mean, abandoning fathers and
abandonment issues, all that stuff.
Well, honestly, there is a little bit more. There could easily be a little bit more subtext to that, at least in the abandonment thing. Because when Harrington calls his parents, they don't recognize that they have a kid or they don't have a son. He's outrightly said that I don't have a son. We've never had kids. We never have any kids or any boys. So,
yeah, I mean, and in all honesty, there probably is a bit of an isolation or a being alone, feeling like a loneliness and not feeling a part of something. That's probably has something to do with it. These Twilight Zone episodes, even when you don't think there's something, there's always something going on in Rod Serlings' head when he was writing them. Even though telling you, Matheson wrote this one.
Well, no, I'm telling you, when we did the Perchance to Dream episode, I told Triv, I said, I don't think this episode is very good. We started talking about the episode and getting into the minutia of what I think Rod Serling was going for. It blew my mind. I was like, oh my God, this episode is way deeper than I even thought. And then we're going to get to episodes where it's straight up dealing with like racism and, hatred and,
Aren't you
Dinkle
glad
the
I
Strong,
started
whatever
you
that
on
is.
that? Aren't you glad that I brought that up and made you reconsider on perchance?
I am. I am actually. That turned into a lot better episode than I was expecting. So with that said, we move into the second half of this episode, and this is when all hell breaks loose. This is when everything goes down. This is when, the corn hub becomes porn hub or popping corn hub or whatever the hell
Really
you want
good
to call
shit.
it. Exactly. So Harrington, before he comes back, or no, before he actually comes back, we are introduced to his wife Amy, who he is talking to about Harrington. She doesn't remember him. He calls his boss. He doesn't remember Harrington, and it freaks him out. He's like going into the I don't know, whatever that thing is with all the big bright shining lights at the sky, the deck or whatever, the balcony.
Oh yeah, he's in kind of the back garden. You see the light, all the stars shining behind him, and he sneaks off into the darkness because he thinks that it's a giant prank, or he's trying to tell himself that's what it is.
Which, like you said, that was a really cool effect, like the shining bright of lights and stuff like that.
Yeah, they start to get a little bit brighter as he starts to back away. So
right, but he goes back to the bar, and I like the frosted glass, or at least it looks like frosted glass. He's like looking in. He's like, "Hello, I need a beer. Hello,
I need a non-shitty beer.
I need a head. I just need the head for a beer. This is where I heard I need to go."
But Triv, you had some interesting trivia about when he breaks through the glass to get into the bar.
Oh, it's just one thing, but the Douglas Hayes, I'm not sure who that is, told Rod Taylor to jump through the bar window because he felt his character was in such a state of just total hysteria. Rod Serlings saw the scene and then liked it enough to approve the change. So
it's a good scene because it shows the chaos nature and losing it that Forbes is starting to do. But this brings back to the hospital bed. Harrington's finishing up the story to Gart, and he's like sweating, and he starts losing, like every time he talks, the more he talks, he starts losing more and more of his sanity. I said at one point it's like he's praising Jesus or something like that. He gets into a really chaotic moment, but this is what you were talking about, Jacob, when he looks in the mirror and you can actually see part of his arm in the mirror. He's like freaking out. He's like, "Oh my god, I'm losing my morality, and I think the beer is making me lose my soul or whatever." And
not enough head, too much body.
Oh, god.
Story of my life. Wait a
minute. But he
scratch that. Story of someone else's life.
Totally.
But Forbes runs out of the room screaming. You see people looking at him, and then the nurse comes in to talk to Gart, who's like running towards the door, freaking out. And apparently Forbes has just disappeared into the ether. Whatever the hell happened to him, we don't know. Gart's like trying to do his madness, crazy, talk. He's like, he's alive, and the nurse is like, "I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Get back in bed. We're not done, putting you under," or whatever the hell is going on with Gart.
Well, he was supposed to have a busted leg, but he walks pretty fine when he's walking.
Like I actually didn't even think about that. That's true. That's a good point.
This was a broken leg.
But when the nurse leaves, she comes back with the doctor. And she's like, "Oh, room 15 is empty. It has plenty of space." And as Trivy said, it looks like a disco. You have a discotheque or something in there,
He's like, "This is where we can put the malaria patient."
It's a giant ass room. It's like, and there's supposed to be 3 beds in there, and then obviously there's 2, and then there's only 1, and then there's nothing. But my heart goes out to those poor hospital beds. They shouldn't have had to suffer for the.
Yeah, he probably went to the bar to have a beer.
Yeah, exactly.
But Gart has officially disappeared. He's gone. He's in the ether, whatever the hell happened to him. And that's kind of the end of the story. We see the X-20 is now disappeared. You said, I can't remember what you were saying about it's thing on the floor.
It's an observation, and I have no idea if there's any significance to it or not. But you see, so the plane at the very beginning was covered with a gigantic tarp thing. And at the end, you see the tarp thing flat on the ground. But then there's other pieces of tarp on top of that, and they're folded really nicely. And it made me think of like the Yeah, it's like it made me think of, and it's probably nowhere even remotely close, but it made me think of like the story of like Jesus's resurrection. Like he left the things he was wrapped in behind, and there was a cloth covering his face that was folded really nicely and left on top. And I don't know, it's probably nothing, but I thought that was kind of interesting. I don't know.
Well, that as the episode ends, I know Jacob, you said you had a theory about what you think is going on, but I know the Rapture has some possibilities that they're being taken away. That the thing I had that was the most, what I found the most profound, what I thought possible is the idea that they actually flew up into space and they passed out, as they said, and they actually either like burned up in the atmosphere or crashed in the planet and they were all dead. And this is kind of a what's that between like
Purgatory?
alive and death, or purgatory, and they're just not realizing they're dead, and when they start disappearing, it's kind of like they come to the comprehension that they're dead, and maybe that's what's going on. But I don't know if that was what you were thinking, Jacob, if you had.
I was before I get into that, I'll give my thoughts. There was something I wanted to touch on in the first act.
Go ahead.
I don't, I was born in 1979, so this is 60s. No,
59.
late 50s. Yeah.
59.
So I know terminology was different then. I get that, but something stuck out to me, and maybe it's just my mind when watching this episode. A term he used, I had to type it. I had to write it down and make note of it. In the very beginning of the episode, it has nothing to do with what you just asked, by the way. But I got.
I know you're going with this.
I think I do too.
He walks up and he says, so the other guy who freaks out most of the episode walks up to Gart in the bed, and he's like, how's everything going or whatever, and he says, one more thermometer in my puss and I'm gonna absent myself without leave from this establishment. Like, what the fuck is he talking about? I really thought, because I immediately said, okay, we got to talk about that. But then I got to like logically thinking about it. I was like, what does he mean? When is the word puss ever, there's only two places this guy's getting thermometer, well, most likely getting thermometers, and when is it ever been in popular culture to refer to, is he talking about his mouth?
He's talking about his mouth. It's actually a pretty common term. Like, you go back to like 40s and 50s movies, they'll be like, I'm gonna sock you in the puss. Like, they refer to, like, there's a lot of,
I need that sound bite for my soundboard on my stream. I'll sock you on the puss, copper.
I will see what I can find, because it is I can't tell you movies off the top of my head, but that is like more gangster jargon, like if you go to the 30s and 40s, but it is a relatively common phrase. If you want, actually, so this is stupid and weird, but like, so there was an episode of Daffy Duck with Daffy Duck as the main character, where he was Dick Tracy, or Duck Tracy as it was. And they're listing off all of these different supervillains, because with the Dick Tracy characters, they always had crazy names.
Yeah.
There was one that was Pickle Puss.
Oh God, yes.
That's funny. I think that's where I've heard this word from, is from Daffy Duck.
Yeah.
It's not where I've heard this word.
Like, he goes,
I know.
he outrightly, like, he's calling out to the, like, all these different villains, and he's like
Sourpuss.
Pickle Puss.
Pickle Puss. I'm looking at it. It is a thing. Pickle Puss, an exaggerated frown, scowl, or sullen expression. Oh, okay. It does mean mouth. All right. Well, that's not where I went with it. I was like, either once again, Rod Serling was very ahead of his time with transgenders or something like that on the show, or something's going on, or what. I was like, I know it doesn't mean that. What? But that's the word they chose. They chose. Okay, right on. Anyway, I wanted to touch on that. It stuck out to me.
I'm glad you brought that up, because we were joking about that. I'm like, wait, what? Well, they said something else too that I didn't write down, but I'm like, did you just say puss? What's that?
There was they're talking about going out for a toot.
Oh yeah. I'm like, are they eating refried beans? I know this is not the
I don't go out,
not the 1920s anymore.
I think a toot is just like either a good time or a beer or something. I'm guessing it's just a good time, but
beer gives me toots all the time, but
I don't think that's the same thing.
Can we bring puss back though? I want to bring it back.
Well, you can start here. If you want to help bring back the term puss, into modern nomenclature, make sure to talk to Jacob Anders at the Jacob Anders Reviews channel on YouTube.
Come watch me just have things
Are
come
you-
out of my puss and hashtag
Are you
puss.
are you gonna Randall this up?
Freaking
Of course,
Yeah.
too.
God.
Bringing it back. Bringing puss back. Anyway,
what's up, little puss?
Holy shit. Well, that took a turn for the weird.
I know.
Puss.
If Rod
smacking.
Serling could only see us now.
Yeah, right.
Little tongue
So-
and puss. Anyway. Okay, so I think the question was, before I derailed that, was what did I think was really going on here? Well, I mean, who knows, but I guess maybe they went up, they go up in this ship in like suborbit or whatever. Because I think that's what they said. They didn't like go into or they went
It was
into
a normal
space.
plane. Or it was an experimental plane that precursed going into space.
Yeah, it went pretty high though. So they come down and whatever they I don't think they were really gone for 24 hours. I think maybe they blacked out, came back. But what happened was maybe they went to another kind of like a Mandela effect kind of thing. They went to another dimension or another timeline or something like that, where everything was multiverse. Everything was still the same, but they didn't exist. And maybe that's where they landed and they weren't supposed to be there. And that was kind of like the timeline or the dimensions writing themselves. Kind of like the Final Destination thing where Death says, hey, you were supposed to die, so I'm going to come after you later. And it just got rid of them that way. That's the only reason I could think why nobody remembered them once they were gone. However, why did the one guy, he remembered his friend and he remembered everybody until he disappeared. But the guy in the hospital bed, Gart, he didn't remember the other guy. I don't know why that is. I was curious as to why he didn't remember, but the other guy did.
I'm kind of taking it from a Langelier's perspective, like being that Forbes and Harrington were together. I guess I think that because they had known each other for so long, I think that probably affected it. Because at one point, Forbes, one of them says, we've known each other for 15 years. And then they knew Gert for 5 or 7 or something. Yeah, exactly. So I think there is that thing about not necessarily a bond, but like there's that, someone, your brain works on a slightly different level because you know them so well.
Maybe it takes longer for the memories to dissipate totally. The more there are, I don't know. But
Well, I mean,
I figured it was dimensional of some sorts.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a thing where it says even in the Wikipedia synopsis, they were gone for 24 hours. Maybe they never returned, and it was trying, like you said, maybe it was trying. The world was trying to course correct itself, and they landed in a place they weren't supposed to. And we joked about the fathers leaving, but that's actually, I thought that was actually kind of interesting. The idea of these individuals. I'm sure Forbes. Actually, I don't know. I don't know if even Harrington had a kid. I don't know.
They never mentioned any.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking about his parents. I thought somebody mentioned something about having kids.
Yeah, Harrington's parents mentioned that they didn't have any, like, there's no way that he could be their son. And then the dad comes on and says, we don't have any kids or we don't have any sons. I think it was, we don't have any sons.
Yeah.
As in period.
You don't exist.
Yeah. But see, that's the thing. If it's just a thing of the world correcting itself, and Nick and I discussed this, why would they not have any memory of them at all? They were straight up erased. So
they went to a dimension where,
yeah,
or a timeline where they never did exist.
And I think that one makes, if you're looking for logic, I think that makes a lot of sense.
But yeah, I don't.
Maybe they were, I don't think converging. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it was like a time cop where they touched the same person and it caused like all of them to combine with one another.
The same
they touch
person
the sky
cannot occupy the same space.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's like Earth 2 or Earth 17 or something.
Yeah, Ron Silver found out the hard way. He got pushed into himself. He turned into a big time blob and melted.
I mean, that's what happens to all good villains.
Turned into a 1993 explosion of CGI.
Oh God. That's like the worst way to go.
With that said, just overall, outside of like the theories about the ending, since he left it so wide open, did you guys, even talking about it, did you guys enjoy the episode? And what did you overall? I'll actually, if you want, tell me what your overall thoughts, and then I'll let you read the closing narration. But what, Triv, what was your overall official opinion on the episode, knowing possibilities of what could have happened, what didn't happen, all that stuff?
I really enjoyed this episode. I mean, I think you're going to be hard pressed to find an episode that I don't enjoy on some level. And I think this one offers a lot of really interesting stuff. For the time, it was probably something that was really outside the box for what had been done previously, for the most part. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was the acting was very good. Like you had that right level of just total hysteria amongst, the with Forbes, and I don't know, I thought it was good. They kind of dolled out information as they went along, but they didn't give you too much to start with. It involved a really nice looking phone booth, which is always a good thing. Yeah, I think they did, and they covered other stuff. Like at one point Forbes says, oh my gosh, I have a telegram that mentions the two of us. They didn't just relegate it to a newspaper or to personal experiences. They had multiple areas that they covered. So I liked it. I thought it was good.
I liked it. Like I said, I don't know. I mean, I guess we can dissect it. We have been dissecting it and find all kinds of meaning there. But overall, I did enjoy the episode. I thought it was a good, solid episode. I don't think once again, it's been so long since I've seen these. I think it was a really good episode, but I really have one other episode right now to compare it to, the one that I watched for last time I was on the show. And I mean, that I've seen recently. But as compared to that one, I liked this one overall, like its structure better. Now, I will say that I did kind of like the subtext and everything that went into the last one, but I still thought that, I mean, everything doesn't have to have like some deep metaphorical meaning to be entertaining and fun. It was still entertaining, and it is one of those ones that gets you to thinking afterwards, like what really happened, what was going on, and there's so many different directions you can go. And I've always said that anytime any movie, show, or form of entertainment gets you to talking, gets you to thinking, that's always a good thing, and this one definitely did that.
Yeah, it's an interesting episode. I think my biggest hang up is the ending, just on the simple fact that I feel like there should be something more there, but I understand why Rod Serling, and I'm sure he had Richard Matheson help him out with the script, even though it just says Rod Serling because they were both friends. I think it has a lot to say on the idea of, what happens to people when they get into extreme situations like this, and the fact they're disappearing and people are forgetting. It's a really interesting way to leave a story open because you're never given an actual conclusion. And sometimes that may be for the best. Like I said, it wasn't, something I gravitated towards because I like, for instance, stuff like The Hunt or Elegy, where there's a finite conclusion. But like I said, when it comes to like Perchance to Dream and even Judgment Night to an extent, if you can think about it and kind of come up with concepts and what you think, and it distills discussion, I think it works on an interesting level. But with that said, I'll let you close out with the episode, Jacob, with the narration that Rod Serling says.
Oh, okay. Let's see. I haven't read this one. Make that bigger because I'm old and my eyes are bad. Here we go. Once upon a time, there was a man named Harrington, a man named Forbes, a man named Gart. They used to exist, but don't any longer. Someone or something took them somewhere. At least they are no longer a part of the memory of man. And as to the X-20, supposed to be housed here in this hangar, this, too, does not exist. And if any of you have any questions concerning an aircraft and 3 men who flew her, speak softly of them, and only in the Twilight Zone.
Speak softly.
Speak softly.
Friend.
And carry a big X20.
Yeah, I mean, there's not too much to glean from there. It's just, hey, here's a story about 3 men. They no longer exist. The X-20 doesn't exist. But if you have any questions, don't ask me because I'm on to the next story. I don't know if that what it really means, but it feels like a Twilight Zone ending with Rod Serling being cryptic in what he says. Yeah, just overall, it's an interesting movie. It's an interesting story. It's something I think I liked before, but after kind of breaking it down, I don't know if I like it as much. But before I get into the Twilight Zone list and we actually in the episode, was there any closing thoughts, any trivia, anything that you guys wanted to talk about with the episode?
Well, there's a really fun piece. Charles Aiman, who was at Harrington, later served as the narrator for the Twilight, like the 85 Twilight Zone.
Oh, okay.
So that was kind of neat. Yeah.
I remember seeing that show, but I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's not really trivia, but I mean, going into when we were trying to speculate as to what this episode meant with was it Matheson,
Yeah, Matheson.
Mm-hmm.
the writer. I mean, if you look at some of his previous work, like I Am Legend and what movies he did, What Dreams May Come.
Oh, I didn't know you did that.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
he wrote What Dreams May Come and Stir of Echoes, and
Oh,
also
the nail scene in that movie will never. Oh
yeah.
God.
and Real Steel. Also.
Oh, yeah.
But if you look at not Real Steel, but like Star of Echoes, and especially like What Dreams May Come, he doesn't just write straight sci-fi. He does take on that, because I think we were talking about a minute ago, maybe it had some religious context as well, like with the Jesus leaving the face thing there and all that. I mean, that may very well be, because he clearly, if you've seen What Dreams May Come, that is got a whole lot of religious, not even subtext, it's just right there in your face.
Literal cross right there.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of goes both ways on it, science and the religion side of things. So, I mean, there may be a little bit of both in all this.
Oh, he didn't write the screenplay. He actually wrote the basis to Real Steel, the boxing robot movie.
Yeah.
I think he likes to deal with like interesting concepts and theories on human emotion and how humans react to intense situations. Because if you look at like Stir of Echoes, it's about a guy who starts having visions about a dead girl. I Am Legend is about a guy who's stuck in New York trying to find a cure for a zombie outbreak. Vampire, yeah, whatever
Originally.
the hell. Yeah. That movie is so terrible. And then you have like what is it? You wrote Jaws 3D. What the fuck?
Hey, don't be dissing on Jaws 3D.
He wrote Jaws 3D. I did not see that.
It's like a giant loaf of bread coming at the camera at one point.
I mean, What Dreams May Come is about like how we view afterlife, and everything's like a intense situation thrown at you, and how do you deal with that? You look at the movie like The Box, and that's about pressing a button and you get $1 million, but someone else dies in the world. And I think that makes perfect sense for this episode, because it's like he's putting three guys in this intense, or Rod Serlings wrote the script, but he wrote the basis, and he put them in intense situations. Dude, he wrote the short story for Duel. Oh my God, he really doesn't like people.
Yeah, for
he really does not like people.
First movie, yeah.
Nice.
I'm just like going through his list. He wrote
I did see
Night
that.
Stalker.
I didn't know he did Jaws 3D though. I'm still hung up on that.
Him and Carl Gottlieb. Thriller. Oh my God, this guy was impressive. Anyways, so before I get off on a tangent where I start talking about the amazing Richard Matheson, it's just it really kind of makes sense if you look at what he does outside of Jaws 3D. It's about people put in intense situations, which is kind of fascinating. So, but yeah, I mean, like I said, if there's no more things you guys want to talk about in the episode, anything you guys don't have, anything else, just before I continue.
I think we should knock this one in the puss.
Exactly.
Yes. Right in the puss.
Right in the kisser.
Probably wrote The Shrinking Man too. Interesting.
Oh, nice. It's a great movie.
Yeah. So I sent you the list as well, Jacob. The top, our top Twilight Zone list. I'm right now, until we get a much more expanded list, I'm leaving Escape Clause as the kind of center point where I think everything below Escape Clause is not great. Everything above Escape Clause is pretty great. If you were to place this, and if you have any questions, let me know. Escape Clause is, of course, where he makes the deal with the devil, and he's a douchebag.
But the devil is so freaking awesome.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Do you think the concept of what is going on in this episode is better than the amazing devil episode, I guess you could say?
Well, once again, I'm looking at this list of 10, and there's only one that I've seen them all before, but like I said, I've only seen one of them recently, and that's The Lonely, which is right underneath Escape Clause.
Yeah.
I would say that from just a viewing experience watching this episode, I did enjoy the episode more than The Lonely. I think The Lonely, like I mentioned a moment ago, had more going on, more layers, if you will, or more ideas like underneath the basic story. But just from a viewing standpoint, I did enjoy this one more than The Lonely. Escape Clause, I vaguely remember that one. Just based on what I remember about it, I want to say maybe it was better than this one. It's hard for me to say because I haven't seen it in so long, but I do think it was better than The Lonely, so it's at least at number 5 for me.
I mean, yeah, when
number
we get
6,
this
rather.
list, I was gonna say when we get down, when you start getting more episodes, it'll be a little bit easier for you to
I'll go
help
through and
out.
rewatch these few.
Yeah. Okay, so Triv, with you, do you think this is better or worse than Escape Clause?
Oh, The Devil Makes Escape Clause such a fun episode. I think I like the story of this better, but as far as compelling characters, I mean, obviously you can't judge Escape Clause by just the devil, but for as compelling, like I think that Forbes isn't a compelling character since he's kind of our eyes and ears in this scenario. But the devil still kind of comes out on top. It would either fall between Perchance and Escape or Escape and The Lonely. I think I'm gonna go with Jacob. I think I'm gonna go number right above The Lonely.
All right, well, let me ask you this. Do you think the story is worse or better than Escape Clause?
There was a guy that got his comeuppance with a heart attack after killing his wife, falling off, after pushing it, or after basically his wife falling off a building. That does change it. Like that perspective. Like I think this is a more in-depth story. It gives you more information slowly as compared to kind of tossing it all out front.
Yeah.
That in mind, it is better than Escape Clause.
Here's where I'm going to go with your original opinion. The fact that there's going to be episodes that are way better, just on the simple fact they're way better episodes.
Yeah.
But I don't find any of the characters, not saying this is a bad episode, but I don't find the characters anywhere near as compelling as the devil in that Escape Clause. And I don't think I think the story of Escape Clause has a much better payoff than this story does, which is not to knock this episode, because as we all know, most Twilight Zone episodes are better than most TV episodes of anything. And
you should put that down the bottom of the screen as a random disclaimer. As a reminder, most episodes of Twilight Zone are better than most of their TV out there. But
when you say most, do you include the 16 millimeter shrine in that?
That's a good question.
We're getting over 10 minutes. Oh, we're good. So here's what I'm going to say. I think Escape Clause is a better episode. I think it's not as good as Perchance, not as good as One for the Angels, not as good definitely for Time at Last or Walking Distance, but it doesn't make it a bad episode. I just think Escape Clause has a better payoff, a better character kind of arc with the devil, and I think the characters in this episode are more fodder than they are actual characters. Is where I really come down to it. And I'm still thinking it's better than like Lonely and Denton and Judgment and stuff like that, but I just don't think it's as good as Escape Clause. So how does that sound?
Though it did give us the one more thermometer in my puss line. So
I know that'll make it.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'm just gonna say that alone should make it number 1. I mean, if we're being honest.
That's where I was going with it. But okay, we can go with 6. But
go with 69 if it's going in someone's puss.
Oh,
by the time we get to episode or season 3, I think that's where episode 69 is. So
yeah, that would make about sense. One other fun point. I was looking at the production codes, like you always talk about, Nick, and this was the production code on this ended in 11, and this was the 11th episode. So for the first time, outside of The Lonely, or outside of Where Is Everybody, the production code lines up with the actual time it was shot.
You have synchronization.
Exactly.
Yes.
Synchronicity.
Yay! Party.
So with that said, When the Sky Was Opened is going to hit up at number 6 for the time being. Number 1 is still Walking Distance. Number 11 the 16 millimeter Shrine. But yeah, that'll do it. That'll be the current episode that we just finished, which is season 1, episode 11, and When the Sky Opened. The next episode is episode I don't know at all or don't remember at all. It's called What You Need, which is a Christmas episode, I guess.
Nice.
It's an episode about Master P and his crew. What you need.
There you go.
I know. I see a Master P in 1959 on Christmas Day. Oh my God.
What you need. We got it.
But it has Steve Cochran, Ernest Truex, and written by Rod Serling again. So we'll see that in the next episode. But before we run out of time on our free version of Zoom meeting call, Jacob, this has been awesome to have you join us on as a regular for the Fifth Dimension. So with that said, where can they find you if they want to reach out and touch your puss?
Well, my Pornhub name is okay. No, seriously. You can catch me on YouTube mostly at Jacob Anders Reviews, spelled like it sounds, and I'm also on Twitter at RedNeville2, and I'm on Facebook and stuff too. But I don't do that. I mean, you find me on there, Jacob Anders. Yeah, or they're changing that again, whatever.
Stupid.
Yeah, but I'm on there. I think on Snapchat. I put stuff on there randomly here or there. Snapchat, no, Instagram. I don't have Snapchat. I don't know. YouTube and Twitter. That's where I spend my time. I'm a boomer. I don't understand all that other shit. But you can hear me like flap my puss about movies on YouTube every day, and that's what I do. But yeah, I had a really good time with this. I'm happy to be a regular. I feel like they like me. They really like me.
How could we not, man? You rock. You were a good third wheel.
Exactly.
Best compliment I've got today.
You can be part of our Twilight Zone menage a trois.
There you go. And Triv, I'm just messing with you most of the time. I really love that you. Yeah, shut up. I really love that you attend these episodes in your crazy and fun form of being an animation character, but you bust balls when you need to, which is awesome. So
I feel like you're sucking on my puss, and I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Well, I do what I can. So, anyways, where can they find you if they want to apparently suck on your puss?
Do tell.
Oh, wow. Okay. You can find me in the middle of a cornfield. No, kidding. You can find me here on YouTube at Trivial Theater. Just type that in, and it's ER, not RE, because generally speaking, I'm not that fancy. You can also find me on Twitter at trivia_chick. I also have Instagram, but hell if I go there very much. But yeah, check me out at those couple places. And yeah. How about you, Nick? Where can people find your sexy ass?
Well, my sexy ass is always on YouTube doing videos, getting yelled at, all that stuff at Movie Emporium, Twitter, Movie Emporium. Just to let you know, we're all involved in Triv's current video as we're recording this, the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah.
Definitely check that video out because Jacob is funny as hell.
He goes topless.
I know. Some good stuff. Exactly. But it was fun to do, and it's an amazing video, and everybody should watch it because she puts a lot of effort into that video. So
make sure to check out these two knuckleheads too, because they're pretty awesome.
I make no guarantees, but anyways, with that said, and so with that said, we are going to head out of this podcast of Fifth Dimension, and we will see you guys next time in the Twilight Zone. Peace out.
Bye.
Adios.